Hello, this presentation is for Material Science Lab 3, which is tensile testing with digital image correlation. This is by Brandon Riley, Sean Roper, and Justin Monroy.
For our objective, it was to find the Poisson's ratio. And to do this, we had three materials, copper, aluminum, and nylon, 2 samples for each. And then we used a tensile test with a camera for digital image correlation, and then translated that into the GOM correlate. For nylon's result, we used 3 points to find a slope causing the axial strain and the lateral strain. When we found the average of all the slopes, we were able to calculate our calculated Poisson's ratio. And for our nylon 1, we got 0.288. Our literature Poisson's value was 0.37 with a percent error of 22.1%. But for our second sample of nylon, our calculated Poisson's ratio was 0.404 with a percent error of 9.2%.
All right, so here are the aluminum results. So we did the exact same thing as we did with nylon. We found the axial and lateral strain, and with the calculated Poisson's ratio for the first sample, it was 1.02, and the literature value was 0.33, which gave us a percent error of 209%. And for the second sample, the calculated Poisson ratio was 0.59, and this gave us a 78% error. And this could have been due to human error when performing the tensile test, or when I inserted the data or the video into the IC. And yeah.
Lastly, we took 2 samples of copper. We did the same thing. We found the axial strain and the lateral strain. The literature Poisson's ratio for copper is 0.33, and the calculated Poisson's ratio that I found for the first sample was 0.351, which gave a 6.45% error, which is pretty good. And for the second sample, the calculated Poisson's ratio I found was 0.324, and that gave a percent error of 1.82%. So pretty similar numbers there. The significance of Poisson's ratio is that it represents a relationship between lateral and axial strain. So in other words, it's just how much the material expands or contracts in the lateral axis while being stretched or compressed along the axial axis facing a force. So this is represented on a scale of 0 to 0.5. The lower end of that scale means there's no displacement on the lateral axis when it gets stretched or compressed. And the higher end means that the material gets very thin while being stretched. So for example, the lower end of the scale would be cork, and the higher end of the scale would be rubber.
So these are the differences between these materials and their meanings. For aluminum and copper, the Poisson ratio was 0.33, meaning the sample will contract in a perpendicular direction by about 33% by the amount that it was stretched. And for nylon, the Poisson ratio was 0.37, meaning the sample will contract in about 37% of the amount stretched, which meant that nylon was harder to fracture compared to aluminum and copper. Alright, so these are the sources that we reference for our literature values for each material's Poisson ratio. Thank you for watching.